My name is Mr Chinenye Nwaogu. You only become honorable when you are elected to the parliament. No, I refuse. Well, by the name it's large. It's and by assignment I went to a place and I was addressed as SA to the governor on everything. So social investment, in 2015, the federal government launched a social investment program. The idea was to create social safety net programs that will take care of those at the very low end of the socio-economic ladder, the poor and the vulnerable, the unemployed youth, children who attend public primary schools that normally come from very poor homes, so most times they go to school without feeding. In launching that program, the federal government also understood that it would be difficult to have that program run effectively without having a handshake with the subnational units, that's the states. So every state government was advised to set up a social investment program office with a focal person in charge of coordinating the 4 component programs at the state level. So we have school feeding program, we have the Empower program, we have the conditional cash transfer program, then we have the government empowerment and enterprise program, GEEP. For the school feeding program, prior to the federal government launching its version of the school feeding program, the wife of governor, in partnership with some stakeholders in the agri value chain, decided to provide 1 free meal every day for pupils of public primary school. We are doing it on a pilot phases. We really didn't cover all the schools, but we wanted to just test run that scheme to see how effective. So it was welcomed with a huge commendation from the public, because it was from that scheme that we understood that some pupils actually go to school without food, on a daily basis. So because we already had a template, we already had data, we already had a system in place, it was easy for us to plug into the federal government's homegrown school feeding program. So at inception, we were feeding 1 to 3, but because we already had a program, we now scaled up to 1 to 6. So currently, Abia State is the only state in Nigeria, and recently just Gombe, just about 3 months ago, that feeds from primary 1 to primary 6. Pupils in all public primary schools, every day they go home with a balanced meal. That likely may be the only meal they take in a day. The program currently feeds close to 500,000 pupils and injects about 348 million monthly into the economy of the states. We employ about 3,480 cooks. And the interesting thing is that most of these women who serve as cooks before this program had no means of livelihood. So by the end of the day, after feeding the children and all the logistics involved, majority of them go home with on average 50,000 every month as an income. Of course, because it's food, they also feed their family from there. What has this done for the health of our children? Of course, when a child eats healthy, at least once a day, you're sure that the child will concentrate on the academics. You're also sure that our analysis also saw another role that we are playing with that program. When your kid goes to school and is expected to return home between 1 and 2, so you're running around trying to prepare lunch. That's no longer on the budget of families. So we are just taking that lunch out of the budget of many poor families. The headache of going to cook in the afternoon, because most of these families are subsistence families, so they prepare every meal they eat as they need it. So we've already taken that out. Then, because it's called homegrown school feeding, everything on the menu, everything in the plate is locally sourced. So Abia rice is on the menu, the yam, the potato, growers association, the egg producer association, and the meat, everybody along the value chain benefits from that large chunk of money that gets into this. So for us, it's something that enhanced the local economies, improved livelihood in the villages, empowered more women to contribute to the livelihood of families. So, and for Abia, it's a success story. In the entire Southeast, we are pilot state for social investment because from the result from the federal government, Abia is a state that is implementing all the 4 component programs seamlessly without any hitch. For Empower.
Yeah, for Empower, for Empower, there's been this issue of the federal government not paying the Empower stipends. What's the situation in that respect?
Okay, there was no issue. What happened is that there was a migration. The program was under the office of the Vice President. Until recently, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development was created, and they moved all the programs to that office. Of course, bureaucracy was involved, moving data, documentation, funds, and financing issues, accounting procedures, and all that. So it took some time. But first, the minister needed to understand what the program was all about. Also look at the figures, look at the books to be sure that, because now she has to authorize payment, she will be answerable to those authorizations that she gives. So she needed to understand that. The minister was appointed, and close to a month, she didn't have a permanent secretary. And permanent secretary just came on board. And permanent secretaries are accounting officers in the federal ministry. So that migration was actually what happened, because this program had run since 2016. It's just this last 2 months that we're having payment hitches. So all the while they've been having seamless payments of stipends. So I don't think that it's been sorted out. 3 weeks ago, we were all at the House of Reps to interface with the members of the House of Reps ad hoc committee, and all the issues were properly sorted out. So for Empower in Abia, we have on the mainstream program, where the graduate program, about 14,000, barely 14,800 beneficiaries. Every month, they get 30,000. They are used to support education, so some of them act as assistant teachers in primary schools. Sometimes we also have deficiency in secondary school, so we put some to fill in the gap, especially in science-related subjects in secondary school. Then those under N-Health, we put them to primary health care centers. They support the nurses and all the people within that space. Then N-Agro as extension agri officers, so that's the 3 components for the graduate program. Then we have the creative and build, those are for skill. We have that bulk, we have about 3,000 beneficiaries. Those ones, what we do is, during the training, they get 10,000 naira stipends for transportation, and they are trained. After the training, they get started to start with a particular skill. We're looking at building services skill, plumbing, electrical, and all the stuff you do around construction. Then creativity people, the tech people, and all that. So after the training, they get startup kits. Abia is the regional warehouse for Southeast for NBuild. So we have a warehouse in Omaya where all the training materials and startups are brought for the zone. So for Empower, we also have recorded huge success. Of course, when NBuild was launched, Abia was one of the states the Vice President came to launch NBuild because of also our success story in trying to implement these programs. Then we have the cash transfer. The idea of the cash transfer, when they started, states were given an allocation of numbers because it's also on pilot phases. We are doing 6 local governments in the states, 17,000 households, poor households targeted, and we are going to provide 5,000 naira, initially, then additional 5,000 to support livelihood, So we have captured that 17,000 in the basket. We are supposed to have started payments for the past 6 months. But what happened was that the payment service provider, the World Bank and the federal government licensed to pay Abia, Akwa Ibom for about 4 states. We just found out that they lacked the technical capacity to deliver payment, and so we complained. They're trying to sort it out, but of course, our money is there. We know that our money is there. So once they start payment, they pay in arrears of all the months that are missed. Jeep, we launched Jeep here. The Vice President came and we had a basket of 3 billion, targeting 30,000 small-scale SMEs in cooperatives and others. So we encouraged all our people to go and register cooperative societies, and we were able to meet that target. The beauty of this social investment program is that funds are not warehoused in the state. So our role is to prepare beneficiaries, put them on a database with their accounts, BVN and all that, and they get funds directly into their accounts. And we just monitor to see that the program is successful. So that's that about social investments. Okay. At some point, the governor called me and said, you have very deep understanding of what is happening in Abuja and development agencies. Maybe we need you to help us also harmonize that relationship so that whatever is happening there, Abia will be on the top, front burner. And to the glory of God, we've been able to do that effectively. There's hardly any program that is launched at the national level now. When they are looking for a pilot state in the Southeast, Abia is always coming up, because first we have a robust template. We understand what they want. We have create the systems, and we'll plug into those programs. So managing that relationship with the presidency, managing that relationship with federal MDAs to make sure that what is due Abia gets to us. And of course, we have a very dynamic governor. All he wants is results. So even if you wake him up by 10 minutes and say you need to go and see the president for this thing, so we sign off for Abia, he will just jump into the next available flight to get
let's move into another very important issue, which is like the backbone of our discussion this morning. You're also spearheading this ENYIMBA Economic City project.
Yeah.
Can you, in a layman term, explain to us what exactly is the project all about?
Okay, so when we came on board in 2015, we started the Made in Aba project. The Made in Aba was, artisans exist in Aba for many years, centuries. Aba has been known as the Japan of Africa. So people are doing all kinds of things. So when the governor came and said, well, we need to create a structure around this, we may need to open the space so that people will understand what is happening in this space. And I think we've been able to do that very effectively. And we attracted the right kind of people to come and see what is happening in Aba and engage directly, even though that you may not measure in terms of optics of development, but the economy of the average artisan in Aba has massively improved in terms of inflow, cash inflow into his pocket. But again, we also so we went to China and we said, okay, we can move the campaign from Made in Aba to Make in Aba, because we also understood what Chinese did. At some point, they domesticated global production within their space. And we said, okay, what we need to do is to begin to encourage the move from Made in Aba to Make in Aba. So, okay, how do we do it? We were looking at what the best practice globally. How do we localize production? Restore industrialization within our space. And something came to the table, which is to create an economic zone for industrialization. And because maybe I just thought it's something that is its time had come. The federal government was toying with the idea of setting up 6 social economic zones across the country, which is also geared towards, they launched the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, energize industrialization across the country, create special economic zones, create facilities and all kinds of within a zone, so that investors and industrialists will see an attractive environment to come and set up factories. So we got a partnership with Crown Royalties, a private sector person who understands social economics. So first we were going for an industrial park, but we also saw that industrial parks hardly work in places like Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa because of all kinds of issues. So we went for an economic city. with an advantage of a free trade zone license, which has huge advantage, because global investors are looking for, one, a place where they can repatriate funds 100%. They were looking at a place that has some best practices, international standard in terms of jurisprudence, customs, and all kinds of municipal administration issues. So a free trade zone automatically confers those kind of status on a space. So we applied for a free trade zone license, and I want to thank President Muhammadu Buhari for being gracious enough, because at the time we applied for a free trade zone license, many people, even within the government sector, didn't think it was something that we should have done. How do you expect a free trade zone in the southeast, and with all the political coloration that will bring up and all that? But to the glory of God, and although we also understood there are a lot of international pressures of people saying, some investors insisting that when they looked at the ENYIMBA Economic City, the master planning and everything, they felt that was the place to go. So the federal government kind of was untwisted in a way to say, oh, we'll grant you the license. And so what we have is a 9,800 hectares of land, divided into 4 industrial areas. We have the oil and gas city, we have the main industrial city, we have the wholesale market, we have the education city, we have the healthcare city, we have the entertainment park, and we have a logistic zone. Today, apart from the free trade zone license, we also have an inland port license, which is a origin and destination port. So the idea is that we have a space where you site your factory and you take it from that space to any part of the world. It's an origin and destination port license. You can bring your goods from any part of the world into ENYIMBA Economic City. And because it's a free trade zone, the custom regime that operates in Apapa, in all those kind of places, can operate here, because we are operating at global standard. You understand? So it's not an issue of you are importing something and it takes you God knows how long to get it cleared. Everything is done with the high level technology that operates anywhere in the world. And so that's what we have. And when we are toying with the idea of the project, we're also looking at location. So we came to my here, we looked at the location here, Obingwa area. But we also found out, because the master planners, Subhana Jurang of Singapore, the best in the world in terms of industrial city development. You can Google them. Subhana Jurang is the Singaporean Ministry of Urban and Fiscal Planning. So they commercialized the ministries because they were involved in Dubai. They've been involved in several industrial parks in China. So when they did the feasibility, they saw that location. That's the highest gas deposit in eastern Nigeria. There's an existing rail line from there, from Port Harcourt across the city to the north. It sits in between. Look at the Onne Seaport, the Bom Deep Seaport. There's an airport in Port Harcourt, another in Owerri, another in Akwa Ibom. And if you look at the geography of that zone, it's at the center of southeast, south-south. So we are looking at connecting the 11 states, but effectively the 9 core states of the old eastern region to a hub. So we are looking at 60 million captive population, 60 million local captive population. Of course, we are not just targeting that population. We're also looking at a global manufacturing floor, that will service Nigeria, West Africa, and entire globe. And I dare say that everywhere we have taken this project, everywhere. Just a few days ago, we came back from Abidjan, and I had to make a presentation to the president of African Development Bank. Everybody has seen that this project is the way to go for us in the eastern part of the country, and even for us as a country. There is no more, it's no brainer today to say that we must industrialize. Industrialization has become the only thing we need to do to rescue ourselves from the economic quagmire we just found ourselves. And who are the best set of people to champion industrialization? Easterners. all over the time, we have been known as industrialists, entrepreneurs, and all that. We already have that natural niche for entrepreneurship and creativity. So what we have just done is to create a space with advantages of gas. So energy is, you already have power supply. Geometric is our major power partner. Because of these projects, I dare say within now and the next 3 months, Aba will be energized. Geometric is on the project, and Afrexim, Africa Export and Investment Bank, is our lead fund arrangers. They're on the project. They have already advanced funds to Geometric to conclude whatever they are doing. As we speak today, Geometric turbines are in the US for services. They just moved them to the US for services. Once they are back, they energize the place. About we have uninterrupted power supply, just so that we are getting ready for the city. Because from China to the US, everywhere we have gone to present the project, the key question has always been power. So with Geometric, the power issue has been solved. African Development Bank is also one of our funders for the project. The project is already 50% capitalized. It's 50 billion capitalization. We have federal government has 20%. The private sector has 20%. State government has 6%. The host 6%. The host community has 4%. So that's the 50% that's been capitalized. The other 50% will go to the public once we begin operation. Federal government has paid off their own 20% capitalization, about 17 billion in the yes, fully capitalized. Private sector fully capitalized their own part. Our state government, we've done about 50% of our capitalization, and the host community is done because the arrangement was structured in such a way that the host community will become part owners of the project. So their capitalization was a contribution from all the other stakeholders. So their money is, the 3 billion from them is already indicated. Now the way the project is structured, it's not that Abia State government is going to put some money and start building industries. No, we're not going to put money on the project at all. We are creating an economic space, and we are telling the world this is a very conducive space to come and do your investment. Let me give you an example. I don't want to mention specific names because of some of the illegal issues. I've been involved in several meetings. There's a logistic company in Singapore. They are the biggest logistic company in the world. They are looking for a foothold in Africa. And when they saw this project, they approached Afrexim and said they want to take over the entire logistics for the ENYIMBA Economic City. Being that once you have that, you are a major player in the West African logistics value chain. You understand? So when they come now, like of course all that discussion has advanced, they take the entire logistic city and they do all the investments, put all the facilities and everything, and the logistic will become world class, the best you can find anywhere in Africa. There's a textile company, the biggest textile company in the world is in China. They've already taken 300 hectares of land to do their factory. It will take them 9 months to do the fiscal structures, and within the next 3-4 months they start operation. And they are, because they also want to move production from China to somewhere in Africa, and they're also looking at a location that has advantages, so that once you produce there, you can take it to any part of the world. You understand? And we have all that embedded in the project. So that's about that. There are other small. A German company involved in car manufacturing. They are coming. They already have identified a space for themselves, but they're also bringing ancillary products. Of course, like when we went to Germany and they explained to us, you don't just bring a car company. You also bring a tire company, battery company, all the other components along with it, so that people are doing this. The other components of the distance. So that's the thing, the way the project is supposed. So the funding aspect, Abians, nobody should be scared about because it's huge. This we are looking at $5 billion investment in the first. What we are looking for the first phase now is $480 million, which appraising is arranging. That money can come from here. You understand? With no states, not even the federal government has the capacity to set up those kind of business activity currently. Okay, look at the beautiful environment, that will be in Abia. It will become a tourist heaven. The whole Eastern Bloc, if not the whole country, will be gravitating towards this zone. That's one. Second is jobs. Jobs. Once we do groundbreaking, and we're looking at July this year, and construction starts, it's going to be for everyone. Low skilled workers, middle skilled workers, high, professionals, and everybody will be involved. So there will be massive job that it will even be enough for people in Abia alone. People will be coming from all over the world to get involved in. So once that kind of thing, kind of high level activities start happening within our space, it will automatically affect the economy of this place. So when they come, they will stay in hotels, they will eat our food, they will trade here, all kinds of logistics, transportation, everything, the entire environment will be transformed economically. So that's one. But again, of course, how that will impact on our entire generated revenue as a state. That is huge. And again, what we will see, like we've seen in China, is transfer of technology. Most Abia youths will be involved in these factory constructions. Our skill sets will expand, beyond even our capacity to absorb. So a lot of activities. Today, if you go to Dubai, it's only in Dubai that people are very happy to say, I'm a local. An Emirati will tell you, I'm a local. He's proud to say it because of the power of that transformation that's happening in Dubai. So in the next 10, 20 years, if you come from Abia, you'll be so proud to say I'm an Abian, because this become the center of industrialization in Nigeria. This become the center of production, in Nigeria, and you'll be proud because it will affect virtually everything. Imagine the way Dubai started as an open market. They said, okay, we have a place, come and sell everything you want to sell here. We will not charge you tax, right? So people were coming because the shipping area, they had water, they had seaports. So people brought their goods and they were selling in the open market. So when you bring your goods, you look for where to sleep, right? So they started doing real estate, and people started building hotels, apartments, service apartments. Now they say, oh, why can't we even manufacture this thing here? And since this place become the center of commerce and industrialization, and that's how you now start seeing real manufacturing happening in Dubai. So they are doing entertainment. They say, okay, people will come, they will sleep, they will do business, but they also need to entertain themselves. So they started building the best of the class entertainment facilities in their place, sports, golf, everything. So Dubai has become a complete city with everything you want. So that is just the kind of thing that is in the offering for Abia. So it's a win-win for everybody in the States. Okezie Ikpeazu, maybe I just always tell him that he was prepared to become governor, because the man has no leisure, there's no leisure around him. Anytime we leave Abia to anywhere, we start our meetings. In fact, okay, let me give you an example. We went to Abidjan. They advised us to come a day before so that we can settle in and rest before the meeting. They said no. We went from Abuja to Abidjan and went straight to African Development Bank. And the additional was, wow, Your Excellency, I've never seen this. From the airport to the meeting. You understand? And from there, we came out to the hotel and we had several other side meetings. So that's the kind of activity we run, Projects like this, we don't have the best advantage in terms of foreign direct investment. By the way, Abia is number 3 in the national ranking by the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics rank foreign direct investment. Nigeria doesn't have the best environment for foreign investments. Of course, when you sit in New York and you're talking to investors, they say, "Oh, you guys have been kidnapping and all that and all that." Sometimes they need the governor of the state. We went to South Africa in November for African Investment Forum. We were toying with the idea whether the governor should come or not. So he went to China for something else. But while he was in China, I called him and I said, the people we have setting all the meetings with said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm special advisor to the governor." He said, "Well, why is the governor not here?" Because the image Nigeria has globally, it makes it very difficult for any other person. They want the man who has authority, the man who has the authority to say, "If you come, I will do this, I will do this," and they want him to commit it to writing. So when they are signing those documents, they want the governor to sit there with them. When we went to China to sign an agreement with RI, Buhari was there for the federal government with his ministers. They also expected the governor of the state to sit in there. So everywhere we are going to sit in meetings, they expect. So that's why it looks as if the governor is always, traveling for. It's not for frivolities. Of course, if you know Governor Okezie Ikpeazu very well, he's not a travel freak. In fact, he told me one story, which I don't even know whether he should go to the meeting. He said the first time he went abroad was when he became governor. He has never been a fan of leaving Nigeria for anything, So anytime you see him out, it's for a very serious business. So one thing I would like to leave is, I did this analysis in London, We went to a meeting and I said this. We have a neighboring state to Abia. There was a governor there, 8 years, massive infrastructure everywhere. He built top of the class infrastructure. So one day in 2016, myself and Samat, we drove to that place. When we wanted to go to cinema, and we arrived at the cinema, and we were just 6 of us. I've been to cinemas everywhere: New York, London, France, everywhere. The same quality of cinema you see in those places, what you have there. And we were just 6, and I was touched, because everything I do, I look at the socio-economic angle. And I went to the manager and said, 6 people on a Friday. He said, "That's the average." I said, "What's happening?" He said, "Well, the purchasing power here is very low." And I said, "With all this world-class infrastructure." Now, get it back to Abia. Yeah, we need the roads, we need this, we need this. But again, the soft infrastructure of governance is to create a robust economy and enhance the capacity of the people to pay for services. You understand? Today, if you set up a small business in Aba, let me just use Aba for example, and you put the average, listen, 10,000, you will see people that will pay for it, because the man in Aba who was in 2015 doing his small shoe business, today, the army ordered 50,000. Even if you do it by 10,000 per pair, that's 500 million naira inside a small city. It didn't go to one person. It didn't come to government. It went into the pockets of people. Those people can afford to watch cinemas. They can afford to take their kids to hospital and pay for school fees. You understand? So one of the things I know that may not seem to be, people will not measure the impact immediately, is that we have been able to enhance the economy of the state by our focus on SMEs, on, the made in Aba thing we are doing, and the economic things that we are doing. There are other issues about governance, about infrastructure. Like the governor will say, even if you have a 10-year-old child, today you ask him if you're governor, what will you do? He say, "I will build road, I'll give water." Anybody, every dunce can just say that. But it takes a critical thinker to say, how do I make Emenike, who is in the private space, to have the enablement to operate and earn income? How do I get Faramasi, who is a teller in Aba, to become a global brand? You understand? How do I get the cobbler, a shoemaker in Ariara, to fly international plane and go to China, go to Brazil, go to New York and do exhibition and be proud of the thing he's doing and earn real income, real livelihood from that, rather than, waiting on government and all that. Yeah, when you do that, it takes a lot of time in planning, in attracting the right stakeholders, to the space. Today, the SME sector in Abia has taken a different dimension. Of course, you know that Abia is the only state in Nigeria that has a ministry dedicated to SME development. We have a microfinance bank, licensed microfinance bank with funds. When we launched the bank in December, we had 20 million naira seed money for revolving loan for SMEs. Bank of Industry is back to Abia, giving money credit to SMEs. There's a 400 million revolving fund loan for the people in the leather sector in Aba to borrow and improve. We set up a shoe factory. Of course, that will also massively expand our stake in terms of leather in the leather value chain. And several discussions are going with a lot of stakeholders in that space. So those things, you can't measure them in terms of how many kilometers of roads and all that. We'll build roads, we'll do all those things, but we're also building a solid structure for economic survival for our people.